they sold their dumpster business for multi-million dollars just by renting out dumpsters. And so over that time frame, this is something that I think you could have a hyper local business that could make you a lot, and I mean a lot of money. All right, the next one is something that was not on my radar, and we're back kind of like to a dirty job again, but this is something that I have seen a lot of people make a lot of money. I would never do this. One of the last episodes we had was an indoor golf simulator, and somebody went out and actually started that business based on that. Can't wait to hear back on how that went. But we've had people start businesses based on these episodes and based on these ideas. Love it, love it, love it. I love these kind of businesses. I don't know why. Now today, we're going to be diving into 5 side hustles that can turn into a full-time income, part 3. So we have talked through a couple of other episodes. Part 1 and 2 are different side hustle ideas. And again, these episodes are created for you guys to spark ideas, for you to be able to go out there and see, hey, will this work for me, or can I think differently about some of these side hustles? Now, one criteria that we always have is A, we want this side hustle to solve a repeatable problem. B, we want this to be a clear path to premium pricing or volume so that we can actually make more money and make more profit. 3, we want to make sure that this can generate consistent, predictable cash flow over time. That is our overall goal. Is there a formula that will allow us to have predictable cash flow? 4 is, can I start this part-time on evenings and weekends and then turn it into something that is full-time? Because that is very important for most of you, because I don't want you quitting your day job for these side hustles. Instead, I want you to use these as fuel to help you build a business that you can then exit your day job if you want to, or you can have a really high cash flowing business on the side where you have 2 incomes coming in. 5 is, it needs to be systematized and delegated. You have to have the opportunity to systematize this or delegate it to someone while you are working during the day if you want to. If you want to have somebody working, the 9 to 5 and then you work the 5 to 9 in the weekends, that is another option for you, but it has to have the ability to be able to do that when we go through these. There also needs to be able to have clear room to scale beyond just you. So you can serve 10, 50, 500 customers, and you'd be able to scale if you hired some more people to help you through that process. It also has to have a flexible delivery model and that you can market it easily. So those are the parameters around what we are talking about here. This is not a generic commodity gig. We're not driving for Uber Eats. We're not delivering pizzas. We're not delivering groceries from Walmart. This is stuff that you could actually build a sustainable business if you thought about starting it. So check out our other episodes too if you haven't, part 1 and 2. This is going to be an entire series on this podcast that we will do over and over again as we come up with ideas. Now, I love coming up with these business ideas. I love looking through and finding different ways to make an extra income. I wish I could do all of these, but I can't. And so some of you have already, we've talked through this a couple of different times. Like one of the last episodes we had was an indoor golf simulator, and somebody went out and actually started that business based on that. Can't wait to hear back on how that went. But we've had people start businesses based on these episodes and based on these ideas. So really, really excited to dive deeper into these today. Also, just a reminder, Master Money Academy is coming. It's going to be in early October for most of you. Our beta group is doing a fantastic job right now. We are doing weekly coaching calls with them, helping them with their money. They are seeing some transformations already. Every single Friday, we talk about our wins in the community, and we are getting tons and tons of wins back, which I absolutely love. So we have a very small group in our founding wealth builders there at Master Money Academy that is seeing some really fun and amazing transformations with their finances. So I invite every single one of you to join here as we do this in early October. It is going to launch to everyone else. So really, really excited for that. So get ready for Master Money Academy. It is coming. All right. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so side hustle number 1. Now, this is going to be one that I have become obsessed with as of late, and I have gone down TikTok and Instagram rabbit holes of people who actually already operate this business, and I am fascinated by this business. And this is dumpster rentals, okay? So you may be saying to yourself, dumpster rentals? What are you talking about? All right, so for example, we got one of these delivered to us about a year ago. My mother-in-law had her house flooded based on one of the hurricanes that came through. I live in Tampa, Florida. We have hurricanes all the time, and she lives on the water. My mother-in-law and father-in-law, they had their house flooded because they live like 8 feet away from the water. And so when the water rises, it went and flooded about 8 feet of her house. So we had to empty out that entire house, pretty much everything that she owned, which was obviously very difficult and very sad. But we had to call up a company to bring us a roll-off dumpster. So what that means, this is a dumpster that they are going to get from their yard. They're going to bring it to your house, and you can throw in debris, junk, whatever else. Then what they do is they will take that dumpster when you're ready for it to be picked up. They will take it to the dump and they will empty it at the dump. And you pay a fee for this every single time they come to pick up. We had to call them 7 or 8 times just for that specific house because they had so much stuff that we had to throw away. So unfortunate situation that led to a business idea that I think a lot of people out there could truly benefit from. So I started to do some research into this and look deeper into the dumpster business. I am still actually very interested in this, but I think it is something for sure that I want to talk through. Now, there was someone in the town that I grew up in. So anybody in the Tampa area, if you know the town Tarpon Springs, Florida, that is where I grew up. And in that town, there was someone who had a dumpster business who basically had like a mini monopoly just in their specific town. They sold their dumpster business for multi-million dollars just by renting out dumpsters. And so over that time frame, this is something that I think you could have a hyper local business that could make you a lot, and I mean a lot of money. So how does this work? Well, there's going to be more startup costs to a business like this than there would be some of the other ones we've talked about in the past. But again, we want to have a bunch of different ways for you to make money, a bunch of different price points for you to make money and how to get started. So there's 2 ways to start with this business. One is you can buy all the equipment up front yourself, and or 2, you can actually buy into a franchise. Now, there are franchises out there that you can buy into that cost about $250,000, but you get the truck, you get all the bins, you get the systems and operating procedures, and you can jump right into a business that that the procedures and operating manuals are actually working for other people. 2, though, is you can do this on a cheaper basis. So what would you need if you wanted to do this on a cheaper basis? You wanted to start your own brand in your town. What would that look like? Number 1 is you would need roll-off dumpsters and you would need a hook lift truck. Now, you could also do this with a gooseneck trailer, but there are a number of different ways to do this. If you got one used, it'd be about $40,000 to $75,000, and new trucks can run you over $120,000. So those are some big upfront costs that you're going to need to think about there. That is one starting point. Now you need the bins. Now, the bins are going to be something that could range in prices. So you could find some used dumpsters, 10 to 20 yards. I've kind of looked at it at auction and some other places. There's a bunch of auction websites for construction companies, things like that, where you can find them $3,500 to $6,000 each. And most companies will start with 4 to 8 dumpsters, which is about $20,000 to $45,000. So we're already looking at over $100,000 that you would be spending just to get started. Then you would probably need something like a tarp system so that when you pick up the junk, there's a tarp on top so stuff doesn't go flying off. You would need safety gear, chains, rollers, straps, spill kits, all that kind of stuff, which all of that is going to cost you about $5,000 to $6,000, and then including, tools and maintenance, all that other stuff. But then you need a place to store these bins. So you're going to need to rent a yard, which can be anywhere from $800 to $2,500 in a single month. Now, I have seen people in some locations where there's a TikTok rabbit hole that I went down where a guy, did one dumpster rental a couple of times and was able to pay his rent just with that one dumpster rental. He must be living in a lower cost of living area. I've seen other people in higher cost of living areas where it may make less sense if the yard costs are going to cost you too much. But this can cost you anywhere from, a quarter acre to a half an acre fenced in yard, $800 to $2,500 per month or more, depending on where it is. No buildings on it, nothing else, just the yard where you can go pick up and drop things off. Then you're going to need, obviously, the upfront deposit on the yard, site prep, all that kind of stuff. And you might even need some gravel on that site if you find a cheap enough yard and it makes sense. So those are some of the upfront things you would need, in addition to insurance. So you need commercial auto insurance, you need general liability, and those are going to cost you anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000. So we're getting up in numbers here. And then you would also need, landfill working capital. So capital to go and take this towards the landfill up front. So a couple $100 there and some fuel float, that kind of stuff. So you can actually fill up the truck and make sure you have that available. Then you're going to need some branding and marketing stuff. So this is going to be the big deal that I think most people mess up on is these dumpster companies. If you are really good at marketing and you are really good at branding, I think you can make a big difference maker. So people out there, I've seen them with bright green dumpsters. I've seen them with pink dumpsters. I've seen them in some branding that actually catches people's eyes when they drive by, because your dumpster being in the middle of a neighborhood is also a billboard for your business. And so making sure you paint those dumpsters and ensure that they have your decals on them can be really beneficial for a lot of folks out there. So a realistic startup cost total can be anywhere from $70,000 on the very low end, all the way up to getting to over $100,000 as a startup cost. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, where am I going to get that money? Well, this is something that I think either You can get together with a couple of friends if they want to do it on the side together as well. And or you could even get some startup capital with a bank, kind of understand where that's going to go. Or you can save up enough cash to start this business if it sounds good, because here's what we're going to talk about here in a second. What do you charge for a dumpster? Okay. So I want you to think about this in one of two ways. One is when you have a rental property, you're trying to cash flow $100, $200, $300 every single month. And that's a pretty decent cash flow for something like a single family rental. Now you buy these dumpsters for $6,000 when they're used. Let's just say it's a $6,000 dumpster when it's used for a 10 to 15 yard dumpster. A 7-day rental is about $350 to $450 is what you can get for a 7-day rental at a dumpster that size. A 20-yard dumpster can be anywhere from $400 to $550, and a 30-yard dumpster can be $500 to $650 yards, and then 40 yards, $600 to $750. Absolutely incredible what you can get for something that costs that much. So you can make your money back pretty quickly on each of these individual cans if you can figure out how to market properly. And so those are going to be the major fees that you can charge for each one of these dumpsters for somebody to do there. Now, there's another service that you can also charge for that I have found via TikTok, where it is a live load. So people who are flippers who have a bunch of stuff that they want you to come, pick it up, and leave right away, you can sit in the truck and charge more for what is called a live load. So you are staying there, your time, energy for staying there while they load up the dumpster is going to be a premium. And a lot of house flippers want this. A lot of folks who are trying to get something done quickly want this. People who are emptying out their houses for hurricanes and they have a lot of help, they're going to want this too, because they want the dumpster coming back after that certain time frame. So you're just a driver and you are, picking up loads, taking it to the dump, bringing the dumpster back, picking up loads, bringing it back. And so that's something else you could charge for. Other fees are overweight fees, additional delays, swap outs for contractor jobs. So you can do the full rental rate again, just swapping out the dumpster, and then delivery and pickup outside of your standard radius. You can charge a little extra for that too. So your average gross rental, if you look at all of these different costs set up here, can be anywhere from $400 to $600 with 6 dumpsters. And you just got to think through, well, what is that going to cost me? And let's just say, for example, you turn 6 dumpsters 3 times per month. Okay. So you have 6 dumpsters, you do 3 times with each dumpster goes out and comes back. That means you are already grossing anywhere from $7,200 to $10,800 per month. Meaning, after the first year of business, you could likely either break even or make your money back. And so marketing is going to be the huge play here. This is going to be the big thing that we need to figure out. How do we get customers? Well, let me tell you how. First, what we're going to do is we are going to network with contractors and roofers. That's going to be a big one. They always need dumpsters. If you can give them at a cheaper rate for someone who has jobs every single day, that is going to be a really, really powerful customer to have on hand. Some of them have their own dumpsters, which is fine. Some of them don't, especially some of the smaller contractors. So how do you build a relationship with them? First, I would cold call them. Secondarily, you could talk to someone like a remodeler or a flipper, real estate investors, all that type of stuff. You can go to real estate meetups and say, hey, I've got dumpsters. Hand out business cards, keep going over and over again until people have questions. You can start to call up all the roofers in your area, all the tree companies in your area, all the contractors in your area, and make sure that they know that you are available and you will give them a discount for being a contractor. You can give them 10, 20% discount for being a contractor. If they want to do a subscription service, you can set up a subscription service. A lot of cool things that you can do there. Secondly, is making sure that you have a Google business profile. That is the second way to make sure that you can get customers. Also, there are things like in nicer neighborhoods, you go to this neighborhood Facebook pages, you jump in there and you start posting, hey, I got dumpsters. If you want a dumpster, you and your neighbors get together. I will bring a dumpster to your house and I will come back and pick it up. Thirdly, is Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace is another great place to go. So what I've noticed is all the dumpster companies put it on Facebook Marketplace. That's where they kind of do most of their marketing in Craigslist. And many homeowners doing cleanouts and remodels start on Facebook Marketplace. So that's a great one. Another one is job site signage. So every dumpster is a billboard, like I said. And so making sure you have signage and very clear signage on how they can contact you is really, really important. And what I've seen some people do is put things like code words on the dumpster. If you mention this code word, you get 15% off or 20% off, whatever else it can be. And then direct outreach. If you can get someone, even if you can't do this, let's say, for example, you get someone to start doing direct outreach for you, okay? You pay them a commission on every customer they have come in. So you don't pay them anything but a commission. And so if they get a local roofer or landscapers or remodelers, most are unhappy with their current provider at some point. And so if you just continue to call them nonstop over and over and over again, hey, I'm the dumpster guy. Hey, I'm the dumpster guy. Hey, I'm the dumpster girl. I'm the dumpster girl. Over and over and over again, that is going to work out in your favor in the long run. This is a long-term game where I think you can make a lot of money by doing this. Think about something like 1-800-GOT-JUNK. That is a multi-billion-dollar company from hauling junk away. Love it, love it, love it. I love these kind of businesses. I don't know why. And then local SEO and ads are something else that you can do for dumpster rental plus your city. And a small budget can dominate locally. And so I think for a lot of people out there, that could be a really, really great thing to do as well. So how to scale? Let's talk about this. First is the easiest way to scale is to double down on what you're currently doing. So make sure your yard that you rent is big enough to at least double the size, if not triple the size of your dumpster fleet. What I have seen people have is, for example, there's a guy on TikTok who bought into a franchise and he started with 10 dumpsters, added another 20 dumpsters, and now he's hardly able to even keep up with his capacity at 20 dumpsters. And he started 3 months ago with a franchise. And this is something where if you can find the demand that's really, really high, I think it's really, really important. 2 is hiring drivers. So once you have 12 plus dumpsters, a second driver helps keep turnaround fast. It's very important that you can do the turnaround very, very quickly. When they call you, you come back and get it. That is going to be something that is really, really important. Also, locking in current contracts with roofers, landscapers, property managers, and demolition crews, meaning commercial accounts are going to be the big money makers. That's where you're going to make sure that you get big money coming in. And then adding services like junk removal, like you have a crew that will come and remove the junk for people. And light demo or scrap hauling also is easy cross sells. And then having multiple yards. So if you have multiple yards in specific areas, that means you could do pickups and drop offs much faster than maybe some other places. And so again, I love rental businesses because they make a lot more money than a renter property would. And the overhead is much, much lower. So if you're like, I think I'm going to invest in real estate. Well, if you did this, you have to do a lot more sweat and equity, roll your sleeves up, but you can definitely make a big impact on something like this. So roll off dumpsters. They are awesome to scale beautifully. You can also get them on wheels. Like one of the guys that I bought from, if you have a truck, he had a dumpster on wheels and would just kind of bring it over to you, drop it off, and then come back and pick it up when it was ready to go. So these can generate, a single operator can generate over $100,000 per year on average. What I have read is that you can make about $150,000 per year just by doing this. And so with 20 to 30 dumpsters and 1 or 2 drivers, this can become a $300,000 to $500,000 per year business. Really, really good stuff. And I think that you can run this on the side, nights, weekends, just do it on a small scale to start and then move it on from there. So really, really important to get that ball rolling. Now, one last thing I'll say about the salesperson is you can get an overseas salesperson or a US-based salesperson. Either one would be great, where they just kind of know what to say to all these folks, help you contact all these folks, sending out emails and collecting, information from people so that you can send them some coupons, some deals to get business going. So that is the first one, is renting out roll-off dumpsters. Let's get to the next one. All right, number 2 is very similar to number 1. And actually, you could probably have both of these at the same time, but you can make a lot of money by doing this if you're just willing to roll up your sleeves some. And this is called job site cleaning. So there's a lot of contractors out there, and this is a lower barrier service to get into. There's a lot of contractors out there who do not want to clean up their job sites after they're done. Have you ever hired a contractor before and they left your job site and it was absolutely a complete mess? Well, these are the people that I'm talking about, because they need someone to come in after they are done doing the work. They don't want to do the cleanup and clean up the job site for them. And they are willing to pay decent money for somebody to come in and do this. So this is basically like doing commercial cleaning, but doing it specifically for contractors. And so what would you need for this business? Well, this is a low barrier service, meaning you would need, some basic cleaning supplies, which is about $500, an industrial shop vac, like a really good one, or a couple of them if you have some employees. That's going to cost you about $600 total some trash cans, heavy duty bags, 5-gallon buckets. And so you can all in, with a safety gear, a wheelbarrow, a pickup trailer, or a pickup trailer is going to be your biggest expense, $5,000 to $15,000. And then optional something, if it's a really big job, optional rental of a skid steer or something along those lines. So I have seen people who really make a lot of money doing this with a skid steer, and they make about $150,000 a month, which if you don't know what a skid steer is, it's like a little small version of like a bulldozer or a tractor style thing that allows you to pick up a bunch of items. If you ever have had little boys in your house, they love skid steers for some reason. So anyways, that is the starting point right there. So you can get started anywhere from $30,000 to less if you wanted the skid steer. And if you didn't have a skid steer, you can get started, with just the trailer and everything else for significantly less. And I think for most people, this is a realistic startup that is a real need. It is a dirty job, but it is a real need that most people have. So what can you do? You can charge for a flat fee per clean. So residential remodels or small sites, and you can do a light clean like a dust, a sweep, and a trash out for $200 to $500 is what people charge. For heavy cleans like demo debris and multiple days, you can do $500 to $1,500. And then per square foot, which is a lot of people do for commercial builders, a rough clean would be 10 to 25 cents per square foot. And then final clean before handoff is 15 to 30 cents per square foot. So an example would be like a 10,000 square foot office build would be a $2,500 total cleaning bill, which is really, really good, especially if you have a crew out there. And then some contractors hire per day for labor cleanup, so $200 to $400 per day. So if you're doing this on nights and weekends, there is nothing wrong with making an extra $200 to $400 on your own schedule if you want to do that. And your gross margins are really right around 50 to 70% by doing something like this. You set your own schedule, and really you're going to need to just find ways to get customers. So how do you get customers? Pretty much the same way you would with the dumpster roll-off business. And so I think these can actually coincide a little bit if you wanted them to. But the general contractors would be your best recurring clients, obviously. And so those are the big ones you want to make sure you're networking with. And then roofing and remodeling companies are going to be the second one. And typically it's going to be the remodeling side that really matters. Roofers will leave debris probably on the ground. That's going to be an easier clean out. Home builders. So this is a big one where you can offer package deals to home builders. There's a lot of home builders in my area in Tampa. And so you can offer package deals like every week you come in and you clean out the remodel. So when I built my house, I remember doing this where the home builder would call in cleaners once a week to come clean the house in case the homeowner came in. They don't want this just debris everywhere in the house. And so they'd have it cleaned out once a week to ensure that when the homeowners came to go look at and check on the property, it was actually clean after the contractors came through. You can also network with property managers or realtors. They deal with home flippers. They know a lot of people in real estate. And so that could be helpful. And then Google business profiles for construction cleanup near me. And then networking with dumpster companies, like we talked about the first time around, is also a great one because they can refer you as time goes on. So that is going to be another big one there. And then how to scale. So you can hire crews, you can offer some tiered packages like a rough clean, a final clean bundle for builders, and then you can also get subcontractor status. So you can get on your preferred vendor list with general contractors and large construction firms so that you can become a preferred subcontractor with some of those bigger companies out there. And then you can expand into related services. So you can do things like pressure washing or junk hauling or landscaping touch-ups, that type of stuff a lot of people do. I like focusing on one big thing that you're really good at that you can do from there. So that is a lower cost option where if you like the dumpster rental business, but you're like, I don't want to spend that much, you can go to a lower cost option of doing some clean out stuff. You got to get a lot dirtier with the clean outs, but they could be a great option for some of you out there. Now, how much can you make job site cleaning? So from my research, I've looked at some job site cleaners like on social media, and I've looked at some of them where who they go through their numbers, and it's just them themselves, and they make six figures, about $100,000 just from doing job site cleanups every single year. The ones that are bigger with crews, they make a lot more than that. And so you can really scale infinitely with this because the world is always going to have construction going on, and they're always going to need somebody to clean it up, and people are not going to want to clean it up. And so this is something that could be a multi-six-figure business if you figure out how to scale it properly. So job site cleanup is number 2. Next one we're going to get into has to do with AI. All right, the next one is going to be something that you can do on the fly pretty much. So most people can do this really quickly, and it's AI implementation for small businesses. So we have talked about AI a little bit before in the past on some of these episodes. This one is an extremely lean, low-cost way to get yourself set up in a business. Now, here's how this is going to work. If you have any understanding of AI whatsoever, what you are going to do is understand that there are a lot of ways to implement AI into your business. And a lot of business owners do not know how to implement AI into their business. And so what you're going to do is you are going to start to figure out ways that you can implement it and help business owners implement AI in their business. So what would the startup cost be for this? And I'm going to explain how this is going to work in a second. It would really just be an LLC, maybe a website and domain, maybe getting set up on some AI tools. And then learning this stuff on the fly is what you need to really be good at. And so this is where we are going to start realistically, probably for around $2,000 or less. Now, there's a lot of ways to price your AI services. And I'm going to tell you how to get customers in a second and how this is all going to work. But you can do hourly consulting. So $50 to $150 an hour starting out. You can do project-based. $500 to $5,000 per customer. I like project-based more. And then you can do a monthly retainer where they keep using your services every single month. And so here's the way I would look at this. The monthly retainer could be anywhere from $500 to $2,500 a month, okay? And the way I would look at this is I would say, hey, I am going to start cold calling a bunch of different businesses and saying, are you interested in implementing AI? And then they'll say, no, I already have it. Okay, hang up. Are you interested in implementing AI? No, I already have AI in my business. Okay, hang up. Are you interested in implementing AI? Yes. If they say yes, you say, well, what are you looking to do? And let's say, for example, they say, we are looking to implement AI within our customer service portal. If that's the case, you're going to figure out how they can implement AI into their customer service portal. So you can look at agents as customer service reps. You can look at all these different things, and you are going to connect the dots. So you say, hey, that's something I do. Can we meet up and figure out a way to connect so that I can show you what I can do with my services? Boom. Get on that call with them. Boom, you hang up, schedule that call, and then you go learn how this is going to work. Most people out there, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to do some research, and they're going to learn how this is going to work, and then they're going to come in and implement it. And so AI is so new right now, and there are so many tools out there that you can learn this stuff over the course of a weekend or a couple of days to get implementation rolling. And so because of this, I think a lot of people out there can do hourly consulting or project-based stuff. And again, I like project-based more because if it only takes you 2 hours, but you charge $5,000, it is much better to do that than would be actually going in there on an hourly basis and trading time for money, if that makes sense. And so you can send over a way for you to price this for each and every single individual person. And really, it's just getting on the phone and calling businesses, then implementing. Getting on the phone, calling businesses, learning, then implementing. Getting on the phone, calling businesses, learning, then implementing. And then if you can, work on that monthly retainer, making $500 to $2,500 every single month, that is something that will help you with ongoing support, will help you with optimization. All that kind of stuff is really, really powerful. So if you want to make money quickly, this is a way that you can definitely make money quickly. So how would you find these people? Cold outreach. So cold calling is something that you're going to have to get used to if you want to do this. And cold calling a bunch of businesses, I would literally find a list of businesses that you think might be interested in implementing AI and start calling them. Doctors' offices, dentists, law offices, retail, all these different companies that are out there. There's going to be a lot in your local area. Secondly, is you can look on LinkedIn and do some local networking. So you can go to different companies out there and look at LinkedIn, local networking to see if you can position yourself as the AI guy or girl for local businesses. And they will start to refer you for sure if you can do this right. And then you can share some sample demos, like some chatbots that you created or auto emails or some marketing tools. There's a bunch of ways to implement AI that are going to help businesses that are out there right now. Also, freelance platforms like Upwork and Fiverr if you want to go that route. And then workshops and seminars. So you can hold AI local workshops. So how AI can save you 10 hours per week in your business and have people come and funnel attendees into paid services that way. And then niche targeting. So looking for very specific niches, dentists. Maybe you only do it for dentists or chiropractors or lawyers or real estate agents or restaurants. Each one has a very specific problem. And once you start to find a bunch that are interested in this, this could really, really be helpful. So how to scale is I would specialize in one niche once you find that niche. So maybe you're calling all of them at first, and then all of a sudden you're going to realize, well, some of these niches really are going to be able to have the extra cash flow to utilize me, and that'll be really good. Secondly is develop playbooks. So developing playbooks would mean once you implement a system like an automated intake form or lead nurturing or something along those lines, then turn it into a repeatable process that you can then implement with other people. And so then you can do this over and over and over again when you hire people. So again, this is something I think will be a starting point where you're going to find other avenues to find other businesses. But this is going to be a starting point where agencies make a lot of money. And this is an agency that can really, really help a lot of businesses out there. And if you're helpful enough and you can figure this stuff out, it is worth the attempt to implement. So I think overall, a lot of people could make a lot of money doing this. All right, the next one is something that was not on my radar, and we're back kind of like to a dirty job again, but this is something that I have seen a lot of people make a lot of money. I would never do this, but a lot of people out there seem to be interested in this, and it is mobile fuel delivery. All right. This is something that is rising at really rapid rates. In fact, I saw a chart that was showing how many people actually get mobile fuel delivery, just like they get their Uber Eats. It's probably the same people that get, everything delivered to their house. Well, they also are now getting gas delivered to their house, where you fill up their car with gas so they don't have to go to the gas station. I don't get it, but some of you out there may already get it and understand it. I just would never do that. I would just go to the gas station and save myself some money. But here's how this works: is you would need a fuel truck, obviously, to go and fill up the cars. A new one is about $80,000. I looked it up, but you can find used ones for $25,000 to $60,000. They just need to be a DOT compliant fuel trailer. So making sure you have that is really important, but you can also buy them at auction for even cheaper than that, which is interesting. Then you would need tanks and pumps, which are usually anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, some safety gear, obviously, and then branding and decals. And then obviously you would need a place for compliance, like a yard or a lot for storing vehicles and equipment, and then a hazmat license for fuel permits, which is going to vary by every single state, but that's about $2,500 up front. And then insurance for this is also the big one. But here's what you can charge. So most people charge a subscription just to even have the service, not fueling up anything, but just to have the service is about $20 to $30 per customer, just for access to call you up. Okay. Secondly, they do a per gallon markup of about 50 cents to $1 per gallon. So up front, you are making that over the wholesale cost. So like, say, for example, you fill up a tank and it's a 25-gallon tank, you make $25 on that vehicle. But here's where the real money's made. The real money is made on these fleet contracts. So you want to find a location that has a lot of specific vehicles that need to be filled up all at once. Car dealerships are one. Fleets for things like healthcare companies, or fleets for shuttle services, or fleets for taxis, or fleets for all these different businesses that have different vehicles that go out and drive. They need to be fueled up. And so with that, if you can find those fleet contracts, you can really make good money by doing this over that time frame. Now, marinas are another big money maker. So trying to find marinas, if you are close to waterways with bulk refuels for boats, equals thousands per transaction. Every single time you go there, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars. And if you can get a weekly contract on that, you can make $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 per week just by having a marina contract if it's big enough. So this is a great, great location for something like that. Example, if you have 200 customers paying $24 per month, that's about $4,800 per month. And then you add in marina and fleet contracts, you can push to six figures pretty quickly. So this is kind of where I would think about this. Now, how to get customers is looking for individual subscribers. Obviously, that's going to be an easy one. But fleets like delivery vans or landscaping crews or construction companies, those are going to be ones that are really going to make you good money. Marinas are the other big one that's going to make you good money. And then making sure that you partner with other employers to offer fuel delivery as a perk. So let's say, for example, there's some big corporate buildings next to you. Maybe you got a big Amazon warehouse, or you got a big corporate building near you. You can offer to fill up all the cars in that area or for the employees for a certain price. And the employees can either pay you or they can pay their employer, whatever you want to do there. But there are ways to do it where you have a bunch of cars put together. Maybe you go to apartment complexes and say, hey, if your folks in this apartment complex want to get fueled up, we will come and do it for them once every single week. They just have to tell us, and we'll go ahead and bill them or invoice them or whatever. And so the way that you bill them is obviously just they auto pay after you fill it up, depending on how many gallons you fill up. And that is another way to do it. So you can really do a lot of different contracts with this. And then obviously scaling is just expanding the fleet and going from there. Now, there are some regulations and startup capital. So you want to make sure that you have that set up front. But I have seen people start this on Instagram and TikTok, and they've been talking about their backgrounds in this. The cool thing about social media is a lot of people will share their numbers, and they will open up, here's how many stops I made today. Here's how many things I did today. And they're making $250,000 to $500,000 doing this, which is crazy, especially the ones with fleets and marinas. They're making big money a year. And so for you, this is something that you could do nights, weekends, where you don't have to do it day in and day out. You come in the evenings and fill up the marinas, or you come in the evenings and fill up the fleet when they're all back and parked at the headquarters or location. So all of this to say is something you could do nights and weekends, heavier startup costs. But the next one has a lighter startup cost and is a very interesting business that is by appointment only. All right, the last one is a very different move from some of these other ones that we've talked about so far today, and it is selling mattresses by appointment. All right, what does that mean? What does it even mean to sell a mattress by appointment? So there are people out there who will go and buy wholesale mattresses. And so they are made in the US mattresses, and you can go out and buy those for $100 to $300 each if you buy them in bulk, depending on the size and obviously the quality of them. So for example, you could start with 30 mattresses, $6,000, depending on size, quality, all that good stuff. Then you need either somewhere to store these. And so I have seen people renting out spaces, like commercial spaces, for example. They don't do any crazy build outs or anything. They just rent out a space that people can come, look at the mattress. They're going to get these mattresses for way cheaper than like a Mattress firm or something like that. And it's by appointment only. So they come in, it's like a showroom essentially, but it's just a room with carpet floors and nothing else really on the walls or anything like that. And they can come in and have that available. So that can cost you anywhere from $500 to $2,000 per month. For example, the studio I'm in right now, the studio that you're watching this on if you're watching on YouTube, this studio is about 900 square feet. And in this studio, you can rent something like this in certain areas for $900 to $1,000 every single month. And that's really all you need for something like this, depending on how many mattresses you are going to hold. But you can find a double-sized commercial space for even, more than that. Maybe it's $2,000 per month. And so you can find another commercial space that's even smaller. You can go find a deal out there and try to find customers, which we'll talk about in a second. You can also do a storage unit. I don't know what the legality side of this is. If you do have a storage unit, you'd have to talk to the owner, see if you can actually do this there. But that's another one. And you can upgrade as sales volume increases. And then equipment setup. So you could also deliver these mattresses to people for a fee. And so if you did that, you'd have a truck or a trailer. And that is another setup that you could think about. Now, what to charge? A lot of people, when they do these, they only have people come in to buy these mattresses by appointment only. So you go out and get the customers, they set an appointment to come look at the mattresses, and then you can sell these mattresses at a significant discount for them. So the wholesale cost is anywhere from $100 to $300, and you could sell these for $400 to $1,200 each. And so your average profit for sale is about $300 to $600 per hour, is essentially. It takes you about 15 to 20 minutes with each customer, and every sale is anywhere from that $300 to $600 profit every time you do this. So each appointment's about 20 minutes, and you can make several $100s in profit. So there's a guy on TikTok that does this. He teaches it, I think. And he basically says, every time someone comes in, we usually will make a profit of anywhere from $300 to $600. And if you sold 5 mattresses per week at $400 profit, that means you'd be making $2,000 a week or $100,000 per year. The math is very simple on this. And so you got to acquire customers. So how are we going to get those customers? Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist are going to be a big one. Saying, hey, I got mattresses for way cheaper than anybody else. Come and set an appointment here. And you can set up a Calendly link. They can schedule their appointments based on wherever you're available. 2 is a Google business profile. So mattresses near me, you want to try to own that word as much as you possibly can. And then referrals, offer $25 to $50 off for referral bonuses from past customers who send you buyers. And then you could do local ads like flyers and yard signs, those types of things. And then you can connect with apartment managers and apartment complexes and realtors even to help recommend you for a commission structure, something like that. And then inventory changes weekly. First come, first serve is the big thing that you want that urgency there as you start to think about this. And so really, this is something that's just a cash flow business that you can set your own hours, set up times, and it's really interesting. We'll try to link up to the guy that sells them down below because I want you to see what this looks like because it's actually really interesting business that I think can work very well for a lot of people. You just have to have those small showrooms that are going to help you sell these mattresses. It's not even like the showroom. It's just mattresses stacked from the floor up, and then people can come and look and see and feel the mattresses. So really cool stuff. If you have any questions on that, though, let me know. Listen, thanks again for listening to the Personal Finance Podcast and investing in yourself. That's exactly what you're doing by being here today, is you are investing in yourself, and cannot thank you guys enough for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you on the next episode.